That was a mistake. Shouldn't have done that. I can't believe it. What was I thinking? You guys gotta hear this. Hey, hi. I'm that American in New Zealand, and I'm here to tell you about some rather uncomfortable experiences that I've had here in New Zealand these past 3 years. Well, over 3 years now. I'm mentioning them because they are unique to living here, and if the same exact events happened in the United States, they would have totally ended up way differently, for good and for bad. And also, what I've learned from those experiences being in this sorry about the cicadas. I think they're mating. And also, what I've learned from those experiences being in this foreign country, far away from civilization. I mean home, far from home. So listen up to these lessons and maybe it will help you avoid similar situations. Hey, hi. Please excuse the cicadas in the background. They are feverishly loud. I've got 3 experiences for you that I'm gonna share. My incident with Trade Me. Now, I thought I had a good relationship with Trade Me. It's a great site. You can buy anything, easy exchange of goods and money. Not for this girl. And I'm here to warn you about it. So here's a scenario. We needed a computer. I wanted a Mac desktop computer to do this editing for YouTube, primarily, and photo editing, things like that. So we find one on Trade Me. It's an older Mac, maybe 5 years old, can't remember exactly. A good deal. So we message the person who is selling it, the seller. We'll call her Sally. So I said, hey Sally, how do you feel about shipping this computer in the mail? Not a problem, sounds good. Hey, would you put, insurance on it so it gets here safely? Not a problem. Sent the money, got the computer. So excited. Went to turn it on, wouldn't turn on. I messaged her, hey Sal, computer's not working, what to do? Why don't you try to call Apple support? Hey Apple support, I've been on here for 3 hours and you're telling me that there's some internal hardware issue and you can't help us? Okay, thanks for the information. Hey, this computer's not going to work. Could we send it back to you and just get our money back? What? You might want to send it to the post office and have them look at it. So we send it to the post office. They pick it up and they send us a note saying, hey, wasn't our fault, wasn't damaged in transit, it was not our fault. Hey, it wasn't the post office, so can we just get our money back and you can take this computer that doesn't work? No. In fact, no, and it's your fault because you should have bought with Ping. Apparently Ping is something that sellers can opt to put on their purchase that people are buying, that people can use to protect them in cases like this. I thought that's what I was asking for with the extra insurance. Hey, Sally, that wasn't an option that you allowed for when we bought the computer from you. Here's $100, leave me alone. Hey Sally, I'd really like the full amount of money, please. Hey Sally. Hey girl. I'd really just appreciate the full amount of money since the computer never worked. At this point, it's more of the principle of the matter, right? It's not so much the money, it's a little bit the money. But also it's like, you sent me a computer, it didn't work, wasn't broken in transit, says the postal office. I certainly didn't break it, so how's that my fault? So anyways, I thought that Trade Me was a solid site. It protected the buyer. Not true. I talked to Trade Me. They said, oh, you'll have to go through this other process and, we'll basically have a little trial for you and we'll decide then. I thought, I'm clearly in the right. You sent me a computer. It didn't work. Hold on. Let me close this door because the cicadas are so loud. There we go. I'm back. So now we have to go through this mediation thing. So I have to get on a call. Sally has to get on a call. And then this other person has to get on a call. This mediator? Are you a lawyer? Are you a judge? I don't think so. I think you're just some guy working out of your basement for some extra cash. So we have the call. It's the most awkward situation I've ever heard of. You basically have to be your own lawyer. They'll be like, okay, Morgan, what's your side of things? So I rehash the whole situation and then she rebuttals me and it's just the most awkward thing. Long story short, the mediator person was like, well, buyer beware, too bad for you. My mind was blown. I was like, how is this possibly my fault? I bought something. It didn't work. It didn't, the description on the computer said proper working condition, like no issues. And Sally's rebuttal was, well, it's an older computer, so things happen. I was like, well, what are the odds that it just happens when I get it? I don't know. Majorly frustrating, big time waste. But I did learn a couple of lessons to share with you. 1, use ping. Make sure you're protected. I assume ping, I don't know all the details, but I'm assuming if you use ping, they'll give you your money back if it's a faulty item or something that's not described correctly on their website. Also, I'm going out on a long shot here, and this may be upsetting, but don't underestimate people's biases towards you. Clearly, since this was a phone hearing or, mediation meeting, they could hear that I was American. Now, I'm not saying that there's bias, but I'm just saying it's clear that there could have been. I mean, I am an American. People have thoughts about what that means. People watch TV, reality shows. People have their assumptions. Maybe they think we're kind of spoiled, bratty, entitled people. And so maybe they're like, this amount of money that you want back is not a big deal. Not fair, not right. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying it could come into play. Anyways, totally different than in the States. In the States, you would have gotten a proper hearing. You could have used a lawyer. You wouldn't have to represent yourself or meet together like you're gonna come to some conclusion. It just all seems silly and a waste of time. And also, the guy that was mediating it was like, hold on, let me see what the law says about that. Hold on, one second. I was like, what? This doesn't seem like the best way to do this. Anyway, heed my lessons. Don't do what I did. Next, I have to talk to you about my horrible car accident. We had just moved to the Bay of Plenty. I was taking my little dog, Mr. Barkley, for a stroll on the beach and got into a terrible car accident. Totally my fault. Bad, not good. I will spare you the details. It involved a spider. Anyway, there were injuries to me and to the other party. I felt horrible. This was very traumatic. We don't have to talk about that. But the point is that I had to do a mediation. I forget what it's called. I'll put the words right here. But I guess here in New Zealand, they try to get victims and perpetrators to come together and kind of work things out, trying to instill some kind of closure in the whole thing. In the States, you basically just sue somebody and that's how you work it out. You just have lawyers, you pay a bunch of money, and that's what you do. And I gotta say, I get it. There's a lot of emotions. When you're that emotional and you're talking about this horrible things that happen, I don't know about you, but my brain goes, like I can't think. It's awkward, and I don't know if a lot gets done when you can't think. You know what I mean? So it has been like 6 months since the car accident. We have this mediation type of thing again scheduled, but it's on Zoom. Zoom is so awkward. It was awful. You guys, it was awful. Zoom, you're already not in the same room. And when you're in the same room, you can vibe, you feel people's vibes, you feel more connected. This was on a computer, there's always like little glitches and you have to, ask people to repeat themselves. Just terrible. In addition to the victims, there was also a mediator and a support person for the other side, I guess. So it's me and my partner, and then there's all of these people waiting for me. So I get on the call, and somebody had prepped me before that you don't need to prepare anything, just get on the call and we'll just have a conversation and it'll be fine and it'll be great. So I'm on the call and the mediator's like, Morgan, would you like to say some things? And I was like, Luckily, I had prepared a letter because I knew this would happen. I just knew, I can't think in these situations. So I read the letter. I'm crying the whole time. I feel so bad. It was totally my fault. I injured somebody. I injured multiple people, and I felt terrible. Awful. After that, the mediators would say just the most awkward things like, well, is there anything else you'd like to say, Morgan? And I'm like, I just poured my heart out. I just cried the whole time. Like, I don't have anything else to say. I'm really, I'm sorry. Doesn't really express the horrible guilt that I had felt. Then they would say things like, well, Morgan, would you like to offer the victim some money? And I said, of course, yes. We'd like to offer this amount. This is what we can offer. And the mediators were like, we don't really think that's enough. Is there anything else you would like to offer? I don't have anything else to offer. This is what I can offer you. I can't tell you the feeling of awkwardness that came over me. I think I was like, no. There was a lot of silence. It was bad. And I can only imagine how it felt for the victim. And this has nothing to do with them. They were the sweetest people ever. It was more just, I'm just talking more about the whole scenario. I don't think this is the best way to do it. Plus, people's first reactions to things is not the best. Don't you want to calm down and think about what people say beforehand? I mean, could you imagine going to a real estate situation when you're trying to buy a house and you're just like, I'll offer 10,000, and they're like, what? That is crazy. Or if your reaction is 10,000, wow, that is like way more than I thought we'd get. Like there's a reason, but there's a person in between buffering. So that doesn't happen. So my lesson for this is just to be aware of the process. I did not know about it. And also, if you're in a situation where you've done something wrong, and you know what? Mistakes happen. Accidents happen to everybody. You can't avoid it. The key is to take responsibility for it. But the point is, I would say have a support team, because if something's your fault, they're probably going to be pretty aggressive towards you. You know what I mean? Another criticism that I have for this situation is that it should be about compassion and empathy and sharing feelings and having an understanding about things. Because you should take responsibility. If you did something, of course you're going to feel guilty if you're a reasonable person. But this situation, it brought out a bit of defensiveness just in the way that they were talking to me. Not the victims, but again, just those mediators. And that feeling is unhelpful in this situation. It didn't have a place there. And it really should just be about being super apologetic. Alright, and lastly, I hate the word lastly. Listen, we're all different. I get it. So because of that car accident, I was put into a few therapists here in New Zealand. So I'd like to just speak about that briefly. My experiences with 3 therapists here in New Zealand were not ideal. We did not gel. And I believe it's because Americans are crazy. We're crazy. I mean, our emotions are right up at the surface. They're not down here and expressing themselves very politely and sweetly like you find New Zealanders. It's right here. That's why we come up with great music and movies and art, and you know, it's coming from right here. It's just spewing out. We can't help it. Anyways, in therapy, I felt like I was being just a bit much, and it was just not quite relatable, if you know what I mean. The things that they were saying were not helpful. I kind of felt a little naughty for expressing myself. And from all 3, I could tell that they didn't really want me to be there. Which, I have a degree in psychology. I understand how these things work, and that is not how you want to come across to your clients. And I totally get it, by the way. I totally get it. They're probably used to sweet, quiet, subdued, polite, maybe a little repressed Kiwis. Listen, if there's any lesson here, I'm just telling you, it would be that if you're an American in need of some therapy over here, I would suggest maybe finding an online person from your same country. You just might be able to relate better, because you know, American therapists probably are a bit more used to our crazy nature, and they won't judge you quite as much. Was that too truthful? I guess we'll see. And there you have it, folks. Just a few experiences I've dealt with here in New Zealand. If you are new or moving here, I hope they'll be helpful in some way to your life. And if you want to know more about living in New Zealand, watch this video next and hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next week. Bye. Hey, Sally, I'd really like, hey. And they'll be like, okay, you know, more, so I'd like to just speak about that. So, you guys ever get like a new phone and then it makes you feel like you're 107 years old because you can't understand the technology? It's embarrassing. Have I been in the shadows the whole time?